Greetings, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary. And today we are going to have a discussion about something I'm very, very passionate about. And today we're going to discuss overeating or mindless eating to make ourselves feel better. To make ourselves feel better. So let me start out by saying that in this space, I invite you to hold space, respectful space for yourself and for each other. It's going to be a respectful conversation and communication. Everything I say is not necessarily the truth. I can only share one woman's experience and perspective. So you're respectfully welcome to engage in this conversation, and hopefully we can come away with some insight. If you're new to this channel, I'm Body-Culinary professional chef, personal trainer, natural born woman. Shout out to you, whatever your expression is. On this channel, I love to share some of my journey of radical self-acceptance, really appreciating and being creative with the features that I have been divinely assigned, all for the purpose of really protecting my psyche and having a firm foundation when it comes to my emotional and mental health. Now, I'm not anti makeup. However, I choose what works best for my lifestyle at this point. So if I wanted to play in makeup, I would. However, I prioritize my health and confidence actually over someone's made up moving goalpost of beauty. And I'm very intentional about being able to feel comfortable and enjoy myself in the body that I have, knowing that it will age, tissue will drop. I can eat all the living foods that I want and exercise, and yet time and gravity, they take their toll. So I'm in acceptance, and I'm intentional about enjoying myself while I have this human suit. So I share celebrating someone, I have fine, kinky, cottony, delicate afro textured hair. That's what it is. It's not Valerie June's hair, although I love Valerie June's hair. I'm never going to have that hair. So it's really embracing what I have. And by the way, today's quickie style of the day. This is my quickie style of the day. So there's no products, no oils, no butters, no gels. I've done all of those. And this is just where I'm sitting at right now. So I just did a little swoop with my very fine flat locks. And something I always, I think often about things I always wanted to be able to do with my hair, keeping in mind most of the styles and tutorials I've tried out, they never look the same on my hair and my hair texture. And actually, most of the styles that I've experimented on, like, well, I'm just going to do this. And those are the styles that usually I like the most. I found that usually those are styles that are complementary to the kinky fro at the base of the root that don't require pulling and don't require pain or me trying to force myself to look like something that I don't. Now, I will say there are some women that I see that have relaxing perms where they actually look nice. I see some folks that wear makeup that I actually really deeply admire. So you on this channel will have to find your own sweet spot where you are in your journey. I would be lying if I say I don't see makeup that inspires me and that is attractive. At the same token, there are certain styles of makeup that for me, they appear so super harsh, artificial. Sometimes they look clown-like. Sometimes, I guess it's a context, right? Sometimes it looks like, sometimes the vibe is almost like a caricature of women. So again, your experience that you bring to the table will often be the lens through which you see things. So I think I can learn from anybody, right? Any packaging, any age, different perspectives. So that is my intention to do that respectfully on this channel. So I invite you to do the same. Also on this channel, I like to share and encourage 3 lifestyle practices. Those lifestyle practices are peaceful consumption, basically food that loves you back, that your cells, not just your taste buds in the party in your mouth, that your cells can recognize, your immune system, your organs, your glands that secrete these hormones that support the life processes, right? Food that doesn't leave a whole pile of waste behind on your waistline. Right? Food that contributes greatly to your vitality, to your energy level, and that it's not clogging. That's not giving you truckloads of acne. So you see how to use a label there. I have found that perhaps when you have a litmus test right? That's my litmus test. If you have a litmus, or part of my litmus test, when you have a litmus test for what will you allow inside or near your psyche, your reproductive organs, your sacred parts, then it becomes easier to make decisions around your standards that you have for yourself. I was a junk food junkie. I've eaten all kinds of flesh, fried food. So I'm not here to make anything bad or wrong. If it's in alignment with you and your goals, rock out. I like to do things in a way that is that feels better, that is sustainable, and that is going to provide me with some kind of measurable, tangible result. So only you get to see and say what that is for you. We can all learn from each other along our journeys. So if you're interested in this kind of content, there's gardening. There's a puppet show on this channel called Sister Butterfly and Sister Monkey Learn to Eat Better. Here, you'll find on this channel, if you're talking about accepting your hair, and all my locks are flat and it's very delicate, I'm constantly getting a natural haircut. If you're interested in anything having to do with fruits and vegetables, the garden, making yourself feel better through movement, then come along. And I also would say, in the quiet hours, I'm a super early bird. By the way, join me for the Harriet Squats workout, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll find the links in the About section as well as on the side there. 5 a.m. That's what time, that's one of the bestest parts of the day, is my personal movement practice. One of the leveraged lifestyle practices that gives you something tangible back for the investment. You are investing your time when you're sitting here, when you're watching these screens through these boxes. So hopefully, again, personal litmus test. Hopefully you will reflect, or invite you to reflect on, are you motivated to get into action around the things that you say are important to you, your core values, when you are done with an interaction or engagement, right? After you're done watching a program or you're watching something, and sometimes we're going to watch entertainment. Though, do you feel dejected? Are you triggered to the point where you just want to eat several bags of potato chips? Or are you inspired to go into the garden? Are you inspired to clean? Are you inspired to get into your movement practice? Are you inspired to, let me see what my hair can do? Only you can say, because only you are there with you. Greetings, Carla. So I invite you to make a positive use, one that at least is beneficial to you, of the internet. I'm no saint over here, but I definitely have worked for many years to cultivate a certain type of awareness, and I like a certain type of results, and one of the main ones being health, because I totally get it. If I don't take care of my health, I'm clear on there will be sufferation. We will have to pay for everything we have subjected our bodies to, in this orifice, in this orifice, in this orifice, and right up in here, right? So before I forget, before we get into today's discussion, if you're interested in group coaching or in coming together around activities and activity, right? Community based around starting your garden, positive accountability around your fitness, sharing information you find out about cooperatives, seeds, other resources, and maybe just sharing some of your natural hair journey. Feel free to check out Flowah Fit Community. You'll need to download the Discord server. If you're interested in group coaching, right? Some coaching and some guidance around effective, efficient fitness. If you're constantly going to the gym, you're not seeing results, and you're there all year and your body's not changing, then likely there's a blind spot. So there is group coaching every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the focus being whole, fresh, unprocessed foods as a lifestyle. You can call yourself whatever label you want. We're in search of positive accountability, right? Sharing resources and information, right? And getting into action around, that means your fitness, your garden, and your food, right? Unprocessed whole foods. You can call yourself whatever label works for you. So that's on Sundays. The guide, Whole Living Foods in the Hood, with menus to fit your budget, answering all the questions that have come up for years around living whole, fresh, living unprocessed foods as a lifestyle consistently, which I'm amazed and I feel blessed and fortunate. It's sustainable and it's doable on all different types of spending plans, which you'll find those different spending plans inside the book, as long with some insight to shift your mindset. People sometimes focus more on the workouts and the diets and the menu plans, and never get the mind clear on what is going to be my standard, right? Before and after. And so without a clear mindset and intention, a lot of times people can treat detoxes and cleanses like a binge purge cycle. So we're interested in getting off the hamster wheel over here and finding what you can live with where you feel calm, relaxed, nourished, it's enjoyable and sustainable. If you had lots of acne like me, you can feel free. And if you're over a whole lot of products, you can check out Natural Beauty No Products. These are all available for download on the Body-Culinary website. There's also raw vegan goddess cakes, healthy eating for men, and emergency food preservation and preparedness. Those are all workshops that you can download on the Body-Culinary website. If you'd like to support the channel, you're also welcome to Cash App at Kwasa Peaceful Eating. All right. So also, last thing, if you look on this channel, there's a video called the Afro Locks Freedom Hair, right? Afro Flower Challenge of maybe you're interested in seeing what your hair will do, right? So my hair is actually very, very fine. They're all flat. People think it looks thick, but it's actually like it's an illusion, right? Not an illusion. It's all just really flat locks. So traded off the circumference, or rather the hair has decided to do that. We don't have thick locks over here. We have fine, flat locks. So all of them are flat. There's no products. It's easy breezy, cover girl. We're not doing any twisting over here, no oils. This is my choice because it feels very freeing to me to not have to worry about sweating out my hair. It's not laziness. It's just a choice, right? I do luxuriate in lots of other ways, but I'm just really going along for the ride to see what my hair will do. I've had almost every natural style you can think of, and this is just what my hair does on its own, left to its own devices. I like to see what my hair and skin will do. All right, so let's get into today's discussion. And perhaps, let me see, maybe today we'll play around with technology and I'll invite some of you into the conversation. Again, we want to keep all conversations respectful, I'm not saying, but however, I'd like to avoid the use of a lot of profanity on this channel. So today what I want to touch on is overeating to make yourself feel better. So I'm a personal trainer and I'm a professional chef by trade. I really enjoy eating and I love being creative with food. And I also at the same time can acknowledge, as someone that has come from a family pattern and history of morbid obesity, very helpful, deadly obesity. I get body positivity. I love my family members. There's so many gifts that I've received from them. However, that is distinct from, we have issues. There's a pattern of morbid obesity and the comorbidities, the diseases that accompany obesity, unhealthful carrying of adipose tissue, which is a technical term for fatty tissue. Now, let me say, all of who we are is not 300 pounds. I have people that I care for very deeply who their body, they're carrying unhealthful amounts of adipose tissue. Some people you can see their issues, right? You can see their adipose tissue, and some people you cannot. So some of us may be 300 pounds up here, or not, may be very inconsiderate or mean of people. So somebody's whole value is not wrapped up in just their weight on the scale. And the physical manifestation of unhealthful weight is just a symptom of, and I like to keep things real simple because relaxation is so important. Relaxation is so key. I know folks like to say weight loss. I like to say weight release. And I'm passionate about this because it's a family pattern. It would likely be my trajectory, along with many of the women in my family who I never thought it would be. One time it was one side of my family, now it's on both sides of my family. So rather than make ourselves bad or wrong, which is ineffective, to question these things, to question more so than just vices, our cravings, our proclivity to our tendency to use food to make ourselves feel better, right? Without the condemning internal judgment that really makes us feel bad. Now, I'm not one to say we should be delusional or that in being compassionate equates to being complacent, right? I don't think that body positivity means that we should not have a keen eye on the urgency of our health and making consistent deposits, right, which are actions, into the 401k of our health, a healthy weight, which, by the way, the body knows how to achieve a healthy weight, y'all, right? So if it's not a healthy weight, that's going to speak to several things hormonally. It speaks to the quality of the energy, aka food that we are consuming, the quality, the quantity, how dry. It speaks to the mental state that we're in often when we're consuming, which a lot of times it's mindlessly, right? I remember when I couldn't watch a television program without popcorn or without munching on something. So there's definitely a psychology and there's some patterns to what is happening when we're eating. And quite often, we're usually not binging or mindlessly eating broccoli. We're usually not mindlessly eating celery or raw or whole living spinach. Those are usually not the foods of choice when we're eating mindlessly. So something that I really enjoy is whole fresh living foods, and for some very specific reasons. It can go a long way. Whole fresh unprocessed foods can go a long way if perhaps that's a concern for you. Your weight, your blood pressure, heart disease, clogged arteries, low energy level, constipation. If that's a concern for you, whole fresh living unprocessed foods can be huge inside of your toolbox. So let me know. Let me see. Maybe today we'll post in the chat because I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. So let's see how we share today. Let's share. I think we'll share today in the chat. We'll share. So what do we think? Should we share today the conversation? So I'm going to put the link inside of the chat, and I think we'll try that on for size today and hear what different folks experience are. And I can share with you some of my experience. Edit. All right, today. So today we're putting it in the chat. So you're welcome to join in the conversation. So my family pattern has been one of morbid obesity. And as a child, looking at pictures of the women in my family with lovely poodle skirts on and saddle shoes. I don't know if you've ever seen those. Saddle. Now that everyone, so many folks are now returning to vintage style. I saw my mom in a poodle skirt and saddle shoes. And I saw some pictures, some beautiful pictures of my aunts with a beehive. Oh my gosh, I love that style. And I'm big on replicating the styles that I wore with relaxed as a perm, with permed hair. And also, I really love vintage styles. Like I saw my auntie's beehive. So I'm usually trying to recreate those styles with what I have. So I like to be creative with my hair. So I'm looking at these styles and I'm looking at my aunts like so pretty. And my aunts and women in my family are very, very spunky, especially the southern side are extremely spunky. So I remember thinking, how did the women in my family go from this to this? Like I couldn't articulate overweight. I didn't really think of my grandma as that. I just thought she was grandma, right? She's just grandma. You don't think in those terms when you're little. If anything, children, we overhear the conversations of adults, and sometimes when folks get drunk or have family barbecues when they start getting hot on each other, or they used to call it doing the dozens, joking and making fun of each other. So I just wondered, my grandma also was diabetic, and we used to have to go get her insulin out of the refrigerator. And again, as a child, I didn't really know what this was. I know, just go get my insulin out of the refrigerator. I do remember distinctly her having to take alcohol swabs and to wipe her leg down and then to inject herself with needles. And I just I didn't like needles. Needles were like, I can take a needle now if I needed to. My goal is to stay out of there. But needles, I think it was pretty scary to me, the idea of a needle, and painful. So the fact that my grandma would inject herself every day was scary to me. And I remember my grandma, she would have to lift, again, I didn't know the word obesity, but she would have to take her stomach and lift her stomach up, and she would put her stomach on her arm. And so I would just, as a child, I was just like, I had such wide, curious eyes. Like, wow. I was looking around to just see the patterns and to make sense of what I was seeing in the adults around me. The southern side of my family, very religious. There's a lot of church. I heard a lot of stories of when they were growing up. Church was more important than school. And so, in looking to make sense of what I saw going on around me, I would ask a lot of questions and I would think, these grown-ups don't think I see what's going on, but I see what's going on. This is what I'm thinking as a child. And we had a big picture of the Last Supper over the table. And I remember looking at the inconsistencies. I remember thinking, like, if everybody's at church, all pastors, ministers, deacons, deaconesses, um, going to school to become pastors, I remember thinking, like, then why do I see so much cigarettes? Aren't they unhealthy? This is what I'm thinking as a child. Alcohol, um, overhearing the adults talk about use of different narcotics and substances. I didn't know they were narcotics or drugs. I remember the after school specials back in the day on Channel 7 of don't do drugs. So I remember these were like mixed messages and inconsistencies I saw with the adults around me. And obviously, the drugs were the most stigmatized, and then alcohol. Though, if you are the patriarch and if you're the breadwinner, then to some degree you get a pass because you're paying all the bills. So it was just was tolerated. I saw a lot of inconsistencies, and I could make sense of. I could put together that there was some reason that people needed to do these substances and have a good time and feel better, and that church wasn't enough. Religion was enough. It wasn't cutting the mustard. My family was deeply religious. It wasn't enough. At some point, I could articulate that there must have been some kind of mental pain somewhere, because why would someone, as I've seen, certain women do, like some of my neighbors, I couldn't imagine. Needles were scary. I couldn't fathom why somebody would conscientiously take a needle and stick it inside of their hand and keep finding all these different spots till their hands and everything was swollen, and to inject themselves with needles. I knew it was drugs. I didn't totally know all the details. I mean, I found out as I got a little older, but that was mind blowing to me as a child. I was like, oh my gosh, it's scary to stick needles in your hand. So I was like, it must be something that they're feeling sad about or depressed. I didn't know the word depression, but I knew something. It was something that they were doing to try to make themselves feel better and zone out. That much I could figure out. And I could figure out church wasn't enough. And I also started to see a pattern of folks that did move away from drugs and alcohol had a tendency to, were raised in the church, move back into the church. Going to church, now what I could recognize as obesity, I saw so much obesity. And I was like, I remember thinking, like, I wonder why. Like, what is that? Why do you go from this to that? And that can't be healthy because grandma's taking needles. And had my grandma still been alive, it's likely that her feet would likely have been amputated. And I was thinking, like, this doesn't make sense because no one would want to take needles, like, really intentionally. And no one would want to have the threat of their legs amputated. I didn't know about type 1 and type 2 diabetes, but I could see uh, the eating patterns that we had. I could see that as coming from a family of really good cooks, that we sample food the whole time that we're making the food. Sometimes maybe a couple of plates of food were eaten by the time we're done with the meal, right? And children, we pick out of our parents' plate, right? Always wanted to be able to do that with my hair. So somehow your mom's or your auntie's food tastes better than yours, even if it had lots of hot sauce on it. So I could start to put together these patterns. This wasn't about dieting. Um, I also eventually started to see that as the women and the matriarchs of the family that fed everyone, you wouldn't get shamed about feeding everyone like you would if you were using alcohol or narcotics or drugs. Actually, you got some kind of validation and acknowledgement for making the cornbread, or compliments for making the potato salad, or making the pie, sweet potato pie, or making the blueberry cobbler. great memories, of food. But I could see that it was comfort. Looking back, I can run those tapes and I can see periods of stress in terms of relationships. I remember conversations of the young person, overhearing conversations of the adults about money and challenges. I do remember a time, I remember hearing men boldly say they did not want any kind of government assistance. And men were very, very proud. They were super proud to work. I also knew that my grandpa, he fought in several wars. So I would hear terms adults would say like shell shocked, or, grandpa would give his whole check to grandma. And she would manage, the resources like the shopping and the paying of the bills. Those things I remember. I don't know. How it seems that it might be a bit different, or some of those patterns may be different. Some are different, some are the same for this current generation. Yet, one thing we can definitely see throughout America, and definitely in people of Afro descent, there's some distinct patterns around making ourselves feel better with food, and it doesn't appear to be a check and a balance, right? Culturally, you make sure that everyone is fed. Even when I think of a dear African friend of mine who's like, you don't portion the food, you let people eat as much as they want, especially children. They eat because of the cultural experience that my friend was coming from. So there's so much loaded into how we eat and what we eat and what's affordable and the recipes and who has control over the pot, because who stirs the pot controls the house. I could see the stress. I could see the stress of the women in my family, of when they would have breakups or disagreements with their husbands or partners. And I could see the things that adults would do to make themselves feel better, and what activities adults look forward to. A lot of times it was partying, right? And then with a lot of my cool uncles and aunties, and I'm not making it bad or wrong, it's just from a point of observation, getting high. And the children, we were watching all of this. So the thing though is the unhealthful effects. I watched people very dear to me lose a lot of their looks. Their bodies aged prematurely in terms of skin, uh, discoloration, teeth, bodies wasting away, immune system compromise, not to mention the arguments, disagreements, and fights, especially as different family members, especially the males, but not limited to the males, folks trying to check each other when they may be at different areas on the spectrum of self-medication. But I would watch arguments and fights ensue as folks attended to try to help somebody else get in order when they were out of order. So this is a lot to process as a child and as a young person growing up. But it made me very curious about human behavior and actually self-sabotage before I knew there was such a thing. I became very curious about why we do the things that we do. And that is a very clear question that I had from a young child. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to a child? Why would you do that to yourself, right? In today's climate of social media, we hear a lot about social injustices and the injustices done to men, to women, to children, to young people. I wonder if we ever stop to think about the violations that we uh, perpetuate on ourselves, even if they are triggered behaviors, even if they are subconscious behaviors. Perhaps if we had to really get quiet and think about it, some of the things that we perpetrate on ourselves might be just as damaging as what we claim people has done to us. It's not to give it a pass or say that one is worse than the other. However, we live with ourselves the most, and will continue to live with ourselves for the duration of our time here in this human suit. And the dialogues that are on autopilot with ourselves a lot of times are co-signing a lot of our behaviors. There are a lot of things that we're doing out of irritation, out of anger, out of what I would call triggeration, right? Being in a climate of being constantly triggered from the moment we turn on the phone or the tablet or the TV, or even if people like saying, I don't have a TV, but this is TV. These screens now as good as TV. Only difference is you can choose some of the programming now, right? What you would like to see, for example, on YouTube. So there is a direct link I have found and observed. There's a direct link to memories, triggered bad memories, definitely trauma. I didn't know there was such a thing as PTSD and CPSD, complex post-stress disorder, right? As well as post-stress disorder and complex post-stress disorder. First time I heard about it was with the folks, and back then it was men that came home from war. And so now we always intuited, but now we know for certain that different things we've experienced culturally have left us with a tremendous amount of trauma. Add to the sauce in today's climate, the amount of pandering and the instigation, the triggering to glorify victimhood as an identity, in contrast to identifying trauma that we have been exposed to, and encouragement to be sovereign and to neutralize and to put into perspective traumas that we have experienced, so we can take the trauma, right, comprehend it, examine it, put it on the shelf as another chapter in our life, only to be pulled off the shelf, for lessons, for compare and contrast. Now it appears that identifying as our trauma, it's almost like a juicy way to make us feel powerful. To make us feel powerful. Yet if we stand back and we look, there is so much self-medicating going on, and now it's glorified. I don't know, sometimes, and people may disagree again, but I think it's kind of it's alarming. That's what I'm going to say. It's very, very alarming. And I say this alarming because a person that has been on the receiving end of severe trauma, physical trauma, mental, physical, verbal abuse, witnessing trauma, even if you weren't violated or penetrated physically, witnessing trauma, whether one intense incident or slowly over time, it can alter your brain chemistry. It can set you up in your ego and in your psyche for fright and fear, and constantly trying to avoid the fright and fear. Meanwhile, you still got to function in life. So a lot of times we're making decisions based in avoiding that trauma and trying to feel pleasure, while quite often we are honest that we're scared. A lot of times we may be scared for our physical safety, or scared for our safety in the world climate. There is a lot of triggeration that is coming at us mentally. So a person that has been traumatized or received a lot of trauma, they are pretty much, I think, in my perspective and on my experience, it's a setup to give as a solution drugs, alcohol, or certain substances masquerading as food to someone that's been traumatized. Because, and it is known now, the opioids and the chemicals that are produced inside of the body, the drugs, right, the response to stress, in addition to cortisol and insulin levels, they're all tied together, and they're making us feel a way, helping us to zone out, to feel better physiologically. And the more we indulge, the more these neural pathways get built into the body. Our habits become like grooves, chemical grooves ingrained into the body. So it becomes very, very hard to stop. And so now we're at a point now in society where a good portion of the population again, not making bad or wrong, this is the observation, using different outside chemical substances to feel better is defended vehemently, sometimes viciously, sometimes violently. The right to feel better, and feeling better is not a crime. However, I question solutions that keep us on as we was saying, on a whole stroll, that keep you dependent on something outside of yourself. Um, that's not sovereignty, right? If I'm going to be a slave to a solution that is taxing my vitality, I question that. I seriously question that. So you all can let me know what you think. This evening in Flowah Fit, I'd like to open that as a discussion. In Flowah Fit, you need to download the Discord app and to fill out the application so we can identify a name with the face and the email so that it is a safe space. I don't know that all conversations need to be had on the internet because there is a climate of trolling and quite often disrespect. A lot of folks, when we are triggered as human beings, we can easily go into disrespecting each other and not being able to hear or hold space for one another. So that's not the intention for the conversation. So that's going to be a discussion in Flowah Fit. There's going to be a film or short documentary that we're going to be watching and commenting on. So do check out the links for Flowah Fit coaching and community. Again, it must be a safe space. So if there's no avatar and if there's no way to identify you, then you won't get access to that room. So Flowah Fit community, if you're interested in starting your garden, positive accountability around your fitness, and peaceful consumption, you can use whatever label you want, for whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods. There's a link to that Discord. It's Body-Culinary that's the server on the Discord app. So this evening, there is a time difference. Let's see. So that will be, I would say, at 6 p.m. This evening. That's going to be in the Body-Culinary, the Body-Culinary server. That's going to be Flowah Fit community on the Body-Culinary server. So you'll need to download the Discord app, which is free, by the way. And I'd like to have that discussion. I think it's going to be a really good discussion. So keep in mind, I don't always answer all questions that are asked to me online because it's just a matter of etiquette and safety. So do remember that we all don't know each other on the internet. So if you follow me on social media, you can get an idea of where I am in the world, but I'm not here to always lay out my Google map because that doesn't resonate with me. So I like to keep healthy boundaries of a very, very safety of women and children and young people, and healthy boundaries are extremely important to me. So a lot of times there are a lot of things that I may not respond to, just so you know. FYI. So fruits and vegetables, the garden, and a personal movement practice. So I think it's going to be really, I think it can be a very beneficial conversation. And those that are in the Flowah Fit community, that conversation, I'll leave it up. And it's definitely going to be a video documentary that we're going to be watching. There are lots of things that we'll be talking about in the Flowah Fit community. I will definitely say there is something I'm also passionate about is sharing information so the next generation, as much as possible, has the opportunity to make decisions and not just follow blindly, to keep themselves dis-ease-free and unplanned parenting free, right? So there's so much information to be had on the internet. Some of it should be vetted. I encourage all flowers out there, all you flowers and trees, all young flowers, and even more senior flowers, to implement a vetting process. So you don't know anyone, not even me, on the internet. You don't know. These are strangers who you can't see in the celebrity worship and following blindly behind entertainment. We're allowing ourselves to be duped into a lot of positions of not using our critical thinking. So again, that's going to be Flowah Fit. We're going to be having this discussion around mindless consumption. And mindless eating and mindless consumption is not only limited to food, although we'll definitely be looking at food, though it is a principle. And principles, by the way, can be your shortcut. Whether you're trying to achieve a healthy weight, or you're striving to implement a consistent personal movement practice. I know some people call it exercise. I would say a personal movement practice to keep your joints open, to stay injury free, to stay strong in your body for the different events that are going to come up in life. Your body, this is the original machine, right? Before you go to any kind of gym, this is the original machine. So that's why I'm extremely passionate about encouraging you. And you don't even need a gym. You really don't. I mean, I've worked in top gyms. I've worked and competed in fitness. Just you having a small space and a yoga mat initially is enough for you to get a personal movement practice on. And vanity is great. But this is primarily first because of how it makes you feel, right? So a lot of us are trying to feel better with a lot of the mindless consumption and the overeating or eating. Many of us don't even notice that we're eating way more than we need. Some of us don't even know, well, how much does my body need? How much gas does my car need? Many of us are not even aware, right? So cultivating awareness is also key to a natural, healthy lifestyle, as well as I would definitely say part of my practice, my lifestyle practice, again, is real simple, something that we all have access and the capacity to do, which is peaceful consumption, food that loves you back. What does that mean? It's not clogging your skin, your arteries, your colon, your glands, which we need to produce hormones, right? Being comfortable in your skin. So peaceful consumption, cultivating or reactivating a personal movement practice primarily because of how it makes you feel. Can you imagine your movement practice making you feel just as good, if not sometimes even better than all this food, this recreational eating that we're doing? Right? And then we also have garden therapy. Food sovereignty and food security is big, but also the garden, basically, and I call it garden therapy, it activates a tremendous amount of common sense clicks on as you are in the conversation, you're in the garden. There's a lot of lessons that are free of a lot of dogma and rhetoric that you get just from putting your hands in the soil, as well as a respect for the process of growing food or energy to eat, right? No religion, no guru is required. So there's so many lessons that are wrapped into the garden, which is why I encourage those 3 lifestyle practices: peaceful consumption, a personal movement practice, and garden therapy. These are things, if you don't have a whole truckload of money, that you have access to. There are deep lifestyle practices that are therapeutic that you have access to. So we're going to be discussing these things. Let me know what you think. Are you implementing? Let me know in the comments. Are you implementing any of these lifestyle practices? Have you started your garden yet? Have you started your garden? Even one thing, 2 things? What have you started growing? Have you started growing at least, I recommend at least something to eat and something pretty to look at, right? So anyway, in this little corner of the internet, natural bodies matter. If you have small tetas, or whatever the size that you have been assigned, or whatever your sacred body parts are, they're yours. The main thing is that they're healthy and that they're blockage free and cancer free. So we want to keep lots of oxygen in the body. Usually the oxygen is coming through whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods, especially your greens, right? We deserve to feel comfortable in our bodies. We deserve to feel comfortable in our own hair and skin. That is what it is, right? And so on this channel, again, I encourage radical self-acceptance so that, that's something that can't be taken away from you. So you can feel comfortable in your skin as you go through the different phases of life. That's what we're designed to go through. If anything, we can enjoy the different phases of life the more that we take care of ourselves, right? If the body is not so full of pain and being clogged and discomfort, then we can enjoy the ride. So the link is, let me see, the link is there. And if no one is there, the link for the Discord app is there, as well as the application for Flowah Fit. Flowah Fit community is free. There's also group coaching that is every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Harriet Squats workout is at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? Monday through Thursday. Friday is a community class. So Friday, the class is a community class, so no one is turned away. And the Cash App is Kwasa Peaceful Eating, so that is donation face. Come bring yourself in positive, respectful vibes and get your sweat on, because a lot of us are really, really missing out. If you knew how much of a good time you could have, even though it's challenging, it's your dojo. You're developing mental grit, resilience, and tenacity for yourself. We apply this to other people and to jobs and hold space for, with star performance for everyone else. It is really something to be a star performer for yourself and to make those tangible deposits into the 401k of your own health, energy, and vitality via your movement practice. It makes you feel so good. It's the bestest part of my day. So I invite you all to Flowah Fit Coaching and Community and Harriet Squats, 5 a.m. sharp Eastern Standard Time. There's a big coaching element. So to really hold space for folks through the sticking points, right? Some of us feel very intimidated or not comfortable with our bodies, or we may be so deconditioned. So there are different levels and lots of modifications for everyone. So bring your water. If you have these fitness trackers that you've invested in, or heart rate monitors, make sure you bring those so you can start putting these different things into use and start to get something back for the investment of your time and your energy and your attention. All right, so I'm going to hop off of here. Let me know down in the comments, do you use food to make yourself feel better? And that's nothing to feel bad or ashamed about. If you're not aware of something, it's really hard to come up with effective solutions for something that you're not aware of. But any of you that are interested in one-on-one coaching, or if you'd like to benefit from a private coaching session with me, you can send me a message at info@body-culinary.com, and you can put Body-Culinary YouTube, so I know that you're on a YouTube channel, and we can set up a time to talk and communicate and set up a plan. I can assist you in crafting a plan of eating for yourself that is based on whole, fresh living, unprocessed foods and a regular eating, practice of non-toxic, just real food, y'all, not a whole bunch of powders and pills. And we can also get you to start your garden. All right, so like, comment respectfully, and subscribe, and I will see you soon. You can also find Kwasa with the K, Peaceful Eating, on TikTok. See you soon.